The cemetery stood forgotten at the edge of town, an ancient burial ground shrouded in tales of the macabre. The wrought iron gates groaned open, protesting the intrusion of anyone daring to venture into its silent domain. Amelia, a young photographer with a penchant for the macabre, felt an inexplicable draw to the graveyard's mystique. As she stepped beyond the threshold, the world seemed to hush its breath. The moon, obscured by ethereal clouds, bathed the cemetery in a dim, otherworldly light. Tombstones, leaning precariously as if whispering secrets to the earth, stood sentinel over the resting souls. Amelia's camera dangled around her neck, capturing the night's secrets with every click. She wandered along the winding paths, the crunch of gravel beneath her boots creating a haunting symphony. A cold wind whispered through the skeletal branches, causing the shadows to dance along the uneven ground. Her lens caught the play of light and shadow on an ancient mausoleum. Drawn to its weathered beauty, Amelia approached, the air thickening with a palpable energy. The heavy stone door creaked open as if inviting her inside. Her flashlight revealed a vast chamber adorned with dusty relics of the past. As Amelia explored the depths of the mausoleum, strange symbols adorned the walls, telling tales of forgotten rituals. The air grew colder, and a hushed murmur echoed through the chamber, as if the very stones held memories of sorrow and despair. Unfazed, Amelia pressed on, her curiosity overcoming the chill that now tingled down her spine. In the heart of the mausoleum, a coffin lay undisturbed for centuries. The lid, adorned with faded carvings, seemed to beckon her closer. Hesitant but compelled, she lifted it slightly, revealing an abyss of darkness within. The air itself seemed to whisper, urging her to uncover the secrets hidden within the shadows. As the lid creaked open, an otherworldly force seized Amelia. The temperature plummeted, and the chamber filled with a haunting wail. Shapes materialized from the darkness, phantoms with hollow eyes fixated on her. Paralyzed by fear, she witnessed the spectral figures weaving through the air, their moans echoing with a lament of forgotten souls. Desperate to escape, Amelia stumbled backward, the mausoleum closing in on her like a coffin lid. The spectral figures reached out, their ghostly fingers grazing her skin. The darkness clung to her, and the world seemed to warp and twist in unnatural ways. In a burst of panic, she fled the mausoleum, the door slamming shut behind her. The graveyard, once silent, now echoed with the anguished cries of the shadows she had disturbed. The moon emerged from its cloudy shroud, casting an accusing light upon the shaken photographer. Amelia stumbled out of the cemetery, her camera now a burden, heavy with images of a realm beyond the living. The shadows, stirred by her intrusion, lingered in the corners of her mind, a chilling reminder of the price paid for unveiling the secrets of the silent. The cemetery, once forgotten, now held a tale of shadows that would haunt Amelia's every step, a dark legacy she could never escape. Nestled at the outskirts of a forgotten village, the cemetery lay cloaked in an ominous stillness. A full moon cast an ethereal glow upon the mossy tombstones, each one bearing the weight of stories untold. It was a place where the living dared not linger after sunset, but curiosity often dances with the forbidden. Emily, a young historian fascinated by the macabre, found herself drawn to the cemetery's haunted allure. As she entered through the rusting gate, a spectral wind whispered through the gnarled branches overhead. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth, and the moonlight carved a path through the labyrinth of graves. Emily's footsteps echoed softly on the overgrown path as she ventured deeper, her flashlight a feeble attempt to pierce the encroaching darkness. A mausoleum, ancient and weathered, stood imposingly in the moonlit clearing. Its marble facade seemed to absorb the surrounding shadows, and Emily couldn't resist the urge to explore its secrets. The heavy door groaned as she pushed it open, revealing a cavernous chamber within. The air inside the mausoleum was thick with an otherworldly energy, and the temperature plummeted as Emily delved deeper. Carved reliefs adorned the walls, depicting scenes of somber processions and funereal rites. The flickering light of her flashlight played tricks on her imagination, making the shadows seem to writhe with unseen life. As Emily reached the heart of the mausoleum, she found a lone coffin resting on a stone pedestal. The lid, engraved with intricate patterns, seemed to beckon her closer. A strange compulsion seized her, and her trembling hands lifted the lid. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the echoes of her own breath. As the lid opened, a mournful melody filled the chamber, resonating from unseen depths. The air became charged with a haunting symphony, as if the very walls were alive with the echoes of long-forgotten requiems. Emily's heart raced as phantom whispers enveloped her, tales of sorrow and despair whispered by the restless spirits of the mausoleum. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, clad in tattered burial shrouds. Hollow eyes fixed on Emily, and a spectral hand reached out, beckoning her to join the mournful dance. Panic gripped her as she stumbled backward, the lid slamming shut behind her. The mausoleum seemed to come alive, its walls pulsating with an ancient power. Frantically, Emily fled the mausoleum, the air reverberating with the wails of unseen entities. The graveyard itself seemed to recoil from the intrusion, as if mourning the disturbance of its eternal slumber. The moon, now hidden behind a shroud of clouds, cast an eerie darkness over the cemetery. Emily stumbled out of the graveyard, haunted by the echoes of the mausoleum. The stories carved into the tombstones now seemed to whisper in a language only she could understand. The cemetery, once a silent sanctuary for the departed, bore witness to Emily's trespass, leaving her with a chilling awareness that some mysteries should remain undisturbed. The cemetery sprawled across the outskirts of a forgotten village, a spectral realm obscured by overgrown ivy and ancient oak trees. The moon hung low in the sky, its feeble light casting long shadows over the moss-covered tombstones that stood like sentinels of the afterlife. Sarah, a curious wanderer with an affinity for the macabre, ventured into this twilight realm, drawn by the enigmatic whispers that seemed to echo among the graves. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth as Sarah passed through the rusting gates, the eerie creaking announcing her intrusion to the spirits that lingered in the quietude. The night was pregnant with an unsettling stillness, and a chill wind rustled the leaves overhead, setting the stage for a spectral ballet of shadows. As she strolled down the narrow pathways, the tombstones loomed like weathered storytellers, their inscriptions whispering tales of lives long extinguished. The moon's feeble light played tricks on the eye, creating an illusion of movement among the granite markers. Sarah's breath quickened, but her curiosity pressed her deeper into the heart of the cemetery. A dilapidated chapel, its spire reaching for the heavens, caught her attention. The air seemed to grow colder as she approached, and a soft murmur filled the night, as if the very ground beneath her feet was murmuring ancient secrets. Undeterred, Sarah stepped inside, the creaking door echoing through the hallowed hall. The chapel's interior was cloaked in shadows, and the moonlight filtered through stained glass windows, casting a kaleidoscope of colors on the cold, stone floor. Rows of pews stood in silent reverence, facing a crumbling altar adorned with wilted flowers and flickering candles. As Sarah advanced, a soft hymn floated in the air, sung by unseen voices that seemed to emanate from the very walls. The temperature plummeted, and a spectral mist coiled around the chapel, taking form as ethereal figures clad in tattered funeral attire. Sarah's heart raced as she witnessed the ghostly congregation, their eyes vacant yet filled with a haunting sorrow. They swayed to the unheard melody, locked in a melancholic dance that transcended the realms of the living and the dead. Drawn to the altar, Sarah noticed an ancient book, its pages yellowed with age. As her fingers brushed its weathered surface, a sudden gust extinguished the candles, plunging the chapel into an impenetrable darkness. The whispers grew louder, intertwining with the distant moans of the unseen specters. In the blackened void, Sarah felt a cold hand graze her shoulder. She turned, her flashlight flickering to life, revealing a ghastly figure before her. Hollow eyes bore into her soul, and a spectral voice resonated in her mind, urging her to unearth the secrets buried within the cemetery's core. With a burst of terror, Sarah fled the chapel, the echoes of the spectral hymn fading behind her. The cemetery, now veiled in an otherworldly fog, seemed to come alive with unseen forces. The moon, now obscured by thick clouds, cast an eerie glow on the ivy-clad tombstones, giving them an ethereal luminescence. Sarah stumbled out of the cemetery, the whispers of the departed lingering in her ears. The spectral congregation continued their dance within the chapel, their haunting melodies reaching out to the night. As she looked back, the fog enveloped the graveyard like a shroud, concealing the ephemeral remains of a realm where the living and the dead danced in perpetual twilight.